report. Okay. I guess we'll do a call to order, roll call of the September 4th, 2024 City of Oak Harbor Investment Committee. So around the table, Barbara Arms, President, Sabrina Combs,
Present.
David Golden, President, Timothy Schofield. All right, Jason Joyner.
Present.
Chris Wittgenstein.
Present.
Sounds good. We have a quorum. All right, Adrian, make sure you take a note of who's here. Yeah. All right. So approval of the minutes from the last meeting. Do you have a copy? Did everybody have a copy sent out to them of the minutes?
Yes,
Okay.
it's on the last page.
Oh, I see it. It's on the last page of your package. Are there any changes or objections to the minutes? Okay, how does it work? Like somebody makes a motion? or something?
Motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
Okay, is everybody in agreement?
Motion.
Whatever.
How do they do it? Raise their hand?
All in favor,
Oh,
say aye.
Aye.
Up and
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No, there are none opposed. So it's a
unanimous.
public comment. During this time, citizens may comment on the citizens may comment on subjects of interest, not on the agenda or agenda items. To ensure comments are recorded properly, state your name clearly. Individual comments will be limited to 3 minutes to ensure maximum participation during the 15-minute time frame allotted for this item. And of course, public comment may also be submitted online. Is there anybody, we didn't receive any public comment, right, Adrian? Okay, I didn't receive any either. Is there anybody from the public who wishes to speak? Hearing none, I guess we close the public comment portion of the meeting. All right. Next item on the agenda is the investment report as of the close of the second quarter. So it's about 20 or so slides. I'll start off. Where did it go? All right, so here's our agenda, which you all have in front of you. We're on the investment report and economic outlook discussion. So these are our investments as of the end of June 30th, 2024. We have a total of, oh, the number cut off there. 7, 18, 19, 20, 5, 6, 7, 8, 28 investments. The total amount of those 28 investments is $56 million. And the average weighted yield is 3.8753%. We have a little under $41 million in the local government investment pool, and that yield is 5.4043%. The total weighted average of our investments is 4.5237, and the benchmark we have is the 6-month treasury, which is above that at 5.33. Next slide. That's the breakdown of our investments. 50% is in federal agency bonds and also treasuries, and 42% is in the state of Washington's local government investment pool. This is a investment ladder overview. See how the investments are spread out through the 3-year period that the investment policy allows us to make investments in. This next slide shows the total amount of money in our bank and also our investments. It's the highest it's been since we've been keeping track. It's just under $100 million. And the breakdown of that is as follows. So the blue line is this money sitting in the bank earning practically no interest. The MIA thing went away 3 years ago. We'll keep it on here for tracking purposes. The LGIP is a local government investment pool. And the yellow line is just our treasury and agency bond investments. So you can see, starting in 2022, we started investing money from the bank into
Yesterday was really open.
and the function of that, a lot of money we kept in the bank. It's still enough. We follow the cash flow every day practically to figure out, how much we need. 4.5 to 5.5%. You can see that, it fluctuates when bonds mature, we leave it an investment depending on the Here's an economic indicator slide going back 3 years. Ceiling debate thing where like the 1 month yield went to the highest, which is not really common. But currently right now, these are the treasury yields of the 1 month, 3 months, 1 year, and some of the more medium to longer term yields. The next slide will show the treasury yield curve. It's still inverted, but it's getting less inverted. And when we show you the third quarter results, you'll see that the inversion is getting less as well. As time goes on. So this slide shows the 2 month treasury differences.
Your microphone is not working.
Oh, I thought I was told to turn off the microphone.
Maybe you should be on that one. So is it not?
Oh, this is.
I mean, it's kind of been intermittent, so I don't know.
You just need it closer to you?
Oh, that's.
Yeah, just get it closer. That's probably the problem.
It's also not at max. Does that help? Okay.
Does this help?
I'm sure it will. Thank you.
Okay. All right, next slide here. So this is the federal funds rate. It's currently at 5.5. It's between 5.25 and 5.5. But there's been talk of that being lowered real soon by the Fed. It might happen. Is it going to be this month or next month? So they're going to meet again in September. Yeah. So when we meet again, it's pretty strong indication from the market that's going to start decreasing. And as of the June meeting, this was what the federal board members, the federal open market committee board members thought interest rates would be by the end of each one of these years. Which for 2024, we thought it would be at 5 1/8. And then 25, it looks like 4 1/8. And the end of 26, 3 1/8. So we'll see how that chart looks after the next meeting. This is an economic indicator of inflation. The August numbers will be coming out next week. But inflation, the 12-month trailing inflation is decreasing. And whenever there's a green circle, it means that the 2-month trailing is actually less than the previous year's 2-month trailing, which would translate into the 12-month trailing actually going down. And the 12-month is what you see in the headlines. The Seattle regional CPI comes out every 2 months, but the national one comes out every month. So based on the last month's national one, it looks like next week's regional one will probably be continuing to lower CPI. This is just a chart that shows the same stuff, but in a chart form. So the trend is basically down. The red line is all items, and then the dashed blue line, you take out food and energy because it tends to be more volatile. And that's just a comparison. Okay, so as far as the city of Oak Harbor goes, we have our bond investments on the top, and these are interest earnings coming from the bond investments in the past years. In 2021, the total amount we earned from bonds and LJP was like 50,000. In 22, it went up to about 600,000, and in 23, it went to 3 million. For 24, locked in so far is about $2 million for bonds and treasuries, and LJP has earned 731 so far. But if you double that, that's looking like could be $3.4 million at the end of the year. And then as far as bonds locked in going forward, because we have 2-year maturities and 3-year maturities, we have about 1.359 million locked in bond and treasury interest earnings for 25, $500,000 for 26, and just 93,000 for 27. But that's because we're limiting the investment policy to 3 years. So that would be the key we have at 3 years. The LGIP, as I mentioned before, tracks very closely with the federal funds target limit. So if the Fed does lower the short-term lending window from 5.25 to 5.5, which is now, to maybe 5 to 5.25 or even more, that'll immediately affect the LGIP earnings that we get. Yeah, in June alone, the LGIP is about $164,000. That includes the money from the fire bonds to construct the fire station that we haven't started spending in earnest yet. Because the fire station is not under construction at this time, but will be hopefully by the end of the year. That's it. So now's the time for member comments.
How is the LGIP managed in terms of its governing board or structure, and how is it how is it underwritten or guaranteed? I guess too. I understand it pays great returns. I'm just curious how. I don't want to say solvent. That I don't mean to imply anything. I just mean talk to me about the structure of that.
Yeah, I can go to the website and look all that stuff up, or I could send you the documents. I don't have it off the top of my head. I know there's a board of folks who kind of make decisions, and they have people who work for LGIP who are actually, but I do know that when our investment advisors, they provide us with comparisons to California and Oregon, because they have a state investment pool, and Washington State's investment returns are always higher than whenever I see those charts for Oregon and California. But as far as the investments go, I mean, they do have a list of the things they're allowed to invest in, and they have a breakdown of how much is in which one of those things. They're pretty conservative as far as I remember, but I could send that to the whole group. I could just send you the information,
Yeah, I would just love to read a little bit more about LGI, about the organization, and
Yeah, no problem.
or a link would be fine too. I can just look at it online.
Are there any other comments?
I just want to thank staff for all the work that you put together, putting this report together. It's very helpful.
Okay, yeah. Adrian Gonzalez, he's a member of staff who's transitioning into the role of being the staff the staff liaison. So he put together most of that presentation and a lot of the background data that goes into it. Okay. Cool. Well,
David,
go ahead.
what is your thoughts and game plan on transitioning as rates start coming down on the pool, moving back into bonds? What's your thought on that? What's our timeline?
Well, every week I get investment proposals from our investors. They give me in 6-month increments, and I took a look at like the 1 year, 2 year, and 3 year, and I compared it to just keeping it in the LGIP and trying to figure out, like, if the Fed starts lowering rates at 1/4 or 0.5%, like what would the rate have to be at the maturity of the 2 year or the maturity of the 3 year to be a better investment than just keeping it in the LGIP? So for example, if I'm getting 5.4% on LGIP and a 3 years yielding 3%, let's just say I know it's a little more than that, but let's say it's 3%. So basically, if I think the LGIP over 3 years, the average yield is going to be greater than 3%, then we just keep it in the LGIP. And the thing about LGIP is every month we get our money and it gets reinvested. Whereas with a bond, it's just $2 million at face value, and then they give us a coupon. We don't really reinvest it. Or if we do reinvest it, we reinvest it in LGIP, or pull it together with more money and put it into another bond. But with LGIP, it's like immediately reinvested. So right now, the way the interest rates are at the 1 year, 2 year, and 3 year investments, it's just not worth it to invest in the bonds because of LGIP, and because literally the Fed would have to lower rates. Like if I'm getting 5.4% now, you'd have to lower rates all the way down to like less than 1%, for it to make sense to go to a 3-year bond and lock it in for 3%. Because I'd still, even if they start cutting rates by 0.25, 0.25, 0.25, unless they lower it all the way down to 1% after 3 years, it makes no sense to do a 3-year bond. But a 2-year, it's a slightly different calculation. So right now, the way it is, it's just not worth it. If we invested 2 months ago, the rates were better, it would have been a better shot. We did do some reinvestments, but as of the last couple of months, it just doesn't make sense. Now, as things change and LGIP comes down, and maybe the bonds or the treasuries or the bonds stop going down, we do these calculations, and once it starts to make sense from a investment point of view, then we'll start doing it. But right now, it just doesn't really pan out, to do like a 2 or 3 year.
Perfect. Yeah, I just was curious on your thoughts on that. That makes sense to me. My concern on that is simply we want to lock in the bonds. Well, they are a little bit higher so that once it goes down, we have that still fixed for a while, but we don't want to, cut off our nose, as the saying goes. So I think that makes sense to leave it for now.
Yeah, like if I invest in a bond and let's say I locked in 3%, and then after 3 years, it's at 2%. It's like, I'd have to take the average of the LGIP for the whole period, not just what it is at the end, and right now, the Fed would have to cut like, oh my goodness, like 440 basis points. I mean, it's just not gonna but as the LGIP goes down, as it track, when the Fed starts cutting and it tracks with it, it will come to a point where, hey, the calculation does make sense to lock it in. But right now, it's just not, I'm just not seeing it.
Yep. Nope. I'm good with that.
Any other comments or feedback? All right. So I guess we could talk about when you want to meet for the third quarter report. We usually meet in the third week after the end of the third quarter. What's it? It's September 30th, right? So third week of October, if that, we can kind of, Adrian or Chaz could send you like potential dates to look at, and you could give us feedback, and then we can just set a time. If that works for everybody.
Sounds good.
Yep,
Thank you.
I think that's a good plan.
All right. All right. I guess that's it. Do we do a motion to adjourn? How does that?
Yeah, I mean, are there no future items for the next meeting? Because it's just a report. Okay.
Yeah.
Then, yeah, I will say, I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right. Meeting over.
Have a good day.